Good evening, and welcome to War with a Mate. I'm James.
I'm Andy.
And who are you?
Andy, I just...
Not you, the listener.
Oh, okay. You want them to say their name out loud?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Go for it. Go. No, I didn't hear that. Well, we'll make up a name for you. How about any names springing to mind?
No.
No, nothing.
What's going on?
It's called audience participation. You know,
Oh,
sometimes you got to bounce off the energy that they're giving you, and a bit of back and forth.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, clearly that's not working here for whatever reason.
Sorry I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. Well, neither did the audience, apparently. Well, audience, we are James and Andy of War with a Mate, and we are playing the campaign for North Africa, a really, really long board game. However, not feeling so long now, is it?
No, today's been a very, very productive session.
Hell yes, it has. We have made some startling progress against this behemoth of a game. We've really taken it by the horns today, wrestled it around.
Flown through.
We have. We've went through multiple stages of the game. We've had a bit of a longer one today, and we've made it through multiple phases of the game. We've went from the... How did we start again today? We started on...
We just finished the water distribution.
The water distribution was...
the
last week.
next thing was attrition, which...
We don't have.
We don't have because it takes time for that to kick in.
Yeah.
It's coming for your guys from what I've been hearing, but not yet.
My thirsty and hungry man will suffer the consequences of my, I suppose, logistical failings. That will come about next operation stage. But for now, they're just a little bit thirsty, a little bit hungry. Nothing bad's happening to them for the most part.
Yeah.
Because we moved past that, we then moved on to some of the shipping bits and pieces.
And that was that was a revelation.
That was, I think, can only be best described as a fuck on.
Yeah.
An absolute farce.
As far as we could tell, not as far as we can tell, there is a tactical shipping segment in the like the turn breakdown. There's no rules for tactical shipping for either of us. There is, but it's not that phase.
Yes, it's contradictory. We found bits and pieces that refer to this tactical shipping segment, but then there's other parts of the rules that completely contradict it, because it turns out it's been completely replaced by a different system.
Basically, all of that is now part of the truck system. They're just water trucks.
Yeah, they've just amalgamated all of the coastal shipping stuff into what you do during the truck convoy stage, which is way later. So now... We'd spent a good, 2 hours trying to figure out how that tactical shipping thing works, and it turns out it's not real. It's part of the game that doesn't exist anymore, but it's still there in the rules. It's still there in the turn breakdown. So we spent two fucking hours trying to figure out how this thing works, and it's not even real. I was not pleased, and I'm still not very happy about that waste of time. However, that being said, we did then move on past that. We found out that you don't use boats apart from your naval fleet to actually bombard, and mine don't ship the coastal bits and pieces until much later on in the truck convoy. But my actual naval convoy arrived today.
Yeah, your ones that made it unharmed through the Mediterranean, because I never knew they were there.
Yeah, you didn't find any of them, so they dropped off all of their stuff today, dropped it off at all the ports, which I'm not going to tell you, Andy, because you didn't find them. You didn't find them with your spy planes, so you don't get to find out where all my supplies went.
Yeah. Which, after the Enigma thing last week, where it was like they knew where every single one of them was at all times, I think I should get some buffs to that.
This is clearly pre-Enigma crack. This clearly is either an alternate universe where Enigma isn't cracked because we're the masterminds behind each side, or maybe it's coming down the pipeline. Maybe next turn you'll be lucky.
Yeah. But
this turn we moved past that, so my shipping stuff arrived. Then we would have had all of the aircraft bits and pieces.
But
However,
it's raining.
It's raining. It's raining really badly in the desert, so we didn't have that. We simply can't have that, which means we didn't end up doing any of the plane stuff, because we simply couldn't. We had to skip construction. We had to skip the planes.
I did do some training.
You did do some training. You started training one of the
Australians. Yeah, they're in Cairo, and they have extremely bad morale at the minute, -3. So I think they're going to be training for the entire scenario.
And we also found out a fun fact about Cairo and Alexandria, the cities on the eastern side of the map, is that they have unlimited resources for you, it was actually part of the revelation that the shipping stuff doesn't work the way we thought it did. Turns out that part of that is because Cairo and Alexandria have unlimited resources for Andy to tap into and move around as he pleases, but not with boats.
No.
Not with boats.
Which makes sense, because the thing said, your supplies just move. So I'd just be teleporting supplies from port to port.
With an unlimited stockpile.
Supply. So good that that's not the rule.
Yeah, I would not have been pleased if you could just teleport resources unlimited in scale. But we moved past that. We instead continued powering through the turn, and we eventually got all the way to movement.
Yeah, there's an actual game now. It's not just bookkeeping with no input.
We actually moved some pieces. I say we did. It's Andy going first. Andy moved some pieces. You moved the 2nd Scottish Guards, I believe it was.
Yeah, the first group I moved, 2nd Scottish Guards and the 31st Field Artillery Regiment.
And where did you move them, Andy?
I moved them from a horrific pass where they would have all have died to one of your airports where they eliminated an SGU.
Yes, that's right. You moved your men away from the ridge that they were caught in between, next to some of my units. You snaked them around the ridge.
Yep.
And then took them to my airfield.
And they stormed the undefended airfield.
That's right, because it was just SGSUs, which are essentially engineers.
No planes.
No planes were there. This was one of my few spare airfields where I've just got the engineers. So your men rocked up, saw there were some engineers, saw that there were no planes, and you immediately gunned them all down. You executed these men in cold blood. The first act that you've committed in this game so far is not finding my convoy. It's not flying your planes. It's coming into one of my airfields with a battalion of armed soldiers and gunning down a group of unarmed engineers.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
We don't know they were gunned down. All we know is they're eliminated and they're never coming back.
They're not in the game anymore. They're gone.
Yep.
That's first blood. You've drawn first blood.
Of course.
And it was unarmed engineers in an airfield.
I'm sure they resisted a bit.
I'm sure they did. Because you've shown up and wanted to kill them all.
Yeah.
To be fair, that they had no supplies there, so they probably would have starved to death functionally.
So that was a mercy.
No, it wasn't a mercy. I don't think storming an airfield and executing people is ever really seen as a mercy. Unless you're the psychotic man sat across from me today. So that was your first act. And then you moved other bits and pieces around.
Yeah, I've moved some Northumberland Fusiliers and another regiment of horse artillery to one of your garrisons. And we had quite a funny thing where we worked out they have to have a certain level of strength to exert a zone of control. Your guys don't have that level of strength. So when that fight comes to resolve, I think it's going to be pretty bad for you.
Yeah, because usually if a unit has a certain level of defense, it's quite a baseline level.
It's very low.
It's a point value of 10, and that comes from multiplying two other values. So really it should get a 10 pretty easy. However, if a unit doesn't have that, then it doesn't exert what's considered a zone of control, which means any hex around it is an area of influence that if an enemy enters it, then combat is essentially started automatically. And my unit there is a little bit too weak to have a zone of control, which means it doesn't mean Andy can't attack them, it just means it's not automatically triggered because my men aren't intimidating enough to resolve anything with anything but violence. So it means they are probably going to be massacred.
Well, they're now in 4 zones of control, because all my guys can do that.
Yes, you've shown up with some actual equipped
well,
men.
I've shown up with 2 infantry battalions at full strength, a tank battalion, and an artillery. So that's going to go pretty badly, I think, for your guys.
Yes, the guys at the Shafferson garrison are, they're in for a really bad time. So that'll be an interesting one to play out. But what happens is first we carry out all of the movement, or Andy does rather, carries out all of his movement. Then we do the breakdown points to figure out if any vehicles or motorized elements of the game have broken down in the desert. And then it goes into combat. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. because the combat is, I mean, it's going to take up a lot of time. Next few weeks, it's going to be movement, combat, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're making decisions. It's
We are.
a game.
It is. This actually feels like a game.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to playing out these parts and seeing what the battlefield looks like at the end of this. This is the part I've been wanting to get to.
Yeah.
This is an actual game. And even though we wasted 2 hours looking for rules that don't exist, it was still, I would say, a relatively fun time.
I think it was a fun one, yeah.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed myself for part of it, which you don't often get with this game because it's a nightmare encased in paper and pages.
I think having the map out makes a big difference, because otherwise it's just us two on laptops not talking to each other doing spreadsheets.
That's true. This is the first time we've had the game map out in weeks because we don't need it when we're just doing the store and fuel expenditure sort of stuff, because it's just, the map is just there. But we've actually moved pieces around today, so we needed it. And it was great. I loved moving things. Well, I didn't move anything. I loved watching you move things, even though it was, I think, technically a war crime, what you did. I'm not really sure the logistics of, whether or not you're allowed to do that.
I didn't have any other options.
Well, I know it's the rules of the game, but you chose to go there.
I thought there might be planes.
If there were planes, I guess the same thing would happen. There were no soldiers there.
Yeah, but we would have got planes. I guess it doesn't address your war crime accusation.
No, it just means you wanted to do the war crime and get a plane. Yeah. So you're bad, objectively.
So we've had a couple of those units move to airfield and set up a pincer maneuver on some guys who are not equipped to deal with it. And the other big move is the 7th Armoured Division is now thundering through the desert towards your front line.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
I did notice the direction that they're going.
At full speed.
Along a road.
Yeah.
Yes, I did see that. So I'm interested to see where they're headed. Because you're very tentative. You don't know which of my units are stacked to the nines with all sorts of equipment and artillery, and which ones are just a handful of guys with pea shooters in the middle of the desert.
I know they don't have enough supplies regardless of how many there is.
Of course not. No one does.
But is it a few hungry guys or hundreds? Because that will matter. So I'm trying to get a feel for where your strength actually lies in that battle line.
Oh, you'll find out, my friend. One of these days you're going to cross the wrong group. But I feel like before then, you're just going to get...
I'm going to mop up a lot of garrisons.
Yeah, you're going to get frustratingly lucky and kill a lot of garrisons. Oh, dear, those poor guys. Yeah. Oh, what a day, though. What a play session.
Yeah.
Really tanking through this this phase, this stage, this op stage. Oh, before we know it, we'll be flying through, finishing this op stage, finishing the turn, and we'll be looking back in a few short months and we'll have finished the whole game. How crazy is that?
I mean, insanely crazy. Almost unbelievably crazy.
Well, it's only taken us, what, this is episode 21, and we've moved someone for the first time.
Yeah.
What on earth was that?
I think someone's accidentally connected to my Bluetooth speaker.
That was... Oh, we're going to get a copyright strike. Oh, that's no good. Someone's playing copyrighted music through your speaker. That was genuinely scary.
Yeah, that's also... I've got to deal with that because I'm just going to wake up to someone else's music now.
Yeah, I can... Shall I turn down your speaker?
Yeah, at least for the pod.
There we go. That would have been... I'm just going to make sure that wasn't my phone connecting to it for whatever reason. Because it really shouldn't. No. I shouldn't be playing anything at the moment. No, it wasn't. Yeah, that freaked me right out.
A little musical snippet from a stranger.
Your speaker is right next to me, and I don't like that it was just some soft woman's voice started singing along there. Well, wasn't that spooky?
Yeah.
Ghost of the SGSUs that you murdered earlier today. You had to serenade me.
Well, how many do you have? 39.
39. I have 38 now.
One down, 38 to go.
You monster.
You can have way more planes than me, but if no one can refit them or let them fly. So I'm going to be hunting SGSUs as well as trucks.
No, leave them be. Leave them be.
I don't think I'll be doing that.
Yeah, well, I'll get you for this. I'll get you.
I just don't think you will.
Easter weekend as well. You chose Easter weekend to do this.
Easter weekend, WrestleMania weekend. It's a big one.
It's a big weekend. It's a big weekend. Movement weekend. We're moving around.
Yeah, there's 3 events that are equally important.
I forgot it was a bank holiday today. because I was on the way. I was on the way here. On the way, I got on the train, and I usually get a weekly train pass.
Yeah.
And in my head, it's Sunday, because Monday I wouldn't have this kind of free time.
Yeah.
So I'm usually working. So got on the train, got off at the station, put my ticket in the barrier. Of course, invalid, because they usually expire end of the week. I usually buy one every Monday when I go to work, start of the week. And in my head, it was Sunday. So got to the barrier, the station. I realised it was invalid. Had to go over, hat in hand, to the man at the barrier. You know, the man.
The barrier man.
The barrier man.
Yeah.
And I said, sorry, I've got an
Sorry,
expired
I'm an
ticket. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Is there anything you can do about that? Is there any courses you'd recommend? Any pills?
What day is it?
Basically, yeah. And I go over to him and go, sorry, I've forgotten what day it is. And you know what? This guy, what a guy. What a sweetheart. Because he then got out his magic card and tapped it against the barrier, and it opened up the barrier.
Black Lotus.
And he said, just buy one on the way back.
That was nice of him.
It was very nice of him.
I guess you can't chastise someone too heavily if they don't even know the day.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I started to get into the spiel of, it's a bank holiday. Usually I would get it on the Monday. And he just tapped the card. He didn't want to hear it. He's heard from a 1,000 idiots today alone. And I was just another one of the crowd. But he chose to exert some mercy on me. So I'm going to extend that mercy. I'm going to pay it forward to you today because of what you did with the SGSUs. I'm going to show you some mercy, and I'm going to give you an opportunity next week to not do that. Next week, I'm going to give you the opportunity to surrender.
No.
No, take some time. Think it through.
Okay, a couple of things are going to happen over the next few weeks.
Right, okay.
I'm both not going to surrender...
Spoilers.
And if everything goes to plan, I'm going to gut about a quarter of your SGSUs.
Right. And that's what you definitely want to do, is it?
Yep. And steal the planes.
Right. You're not stealing my planes.
You can, and I will.
I'm not going to let you steal my planes.
As soon as the rain stops, those planes are coming back to me.
So it's the weather. The weather is the one thing stopping you from stealing the planes.
Yeah. Because otherwise I need to hold and defend the planes.
You're not taking my goddamn planes.
Oh, I am.
Leave them alone.
No.
Just because I've got better planes than you and more of them.
Yeah, you have air superiority, so while it's raining, I'm going to try and stop that happening.
I'm going to fly them far away from you.
If they're not in use, that's fine.
No, I'm going to fly them all the way to Tripoli, and you
so
can't
they're
have
not
them.
in use.
Well, they'll be in use. I'm going to use them to bomb Malta. How about that?
Don't.
You'd hate that, wouldn't you?
I would.
You absolutely love your little Malta.
Well, it's been a bit of a letdown in the one chance I've had to use it so far.
That's true. You have kind of squandered Malta.
Yeah. Don't know why everyone talks about it being so important. They couldn't find anything.
Well, that's just down to that's user error, I would say.
I haven't been given the tools I need.
Well, we've got a bit of a crossroads here, Andy. What are we going to do first? Are we going to read out a bit of correspondence, or are we going to dive into some history?
Do we do some correspondence first?
Let's do it. Let's hear out. Let's listen out. Let's just play the sound effects, future James. There we go. Yep, it's happening right now.
You think you probably spoke over it?
Probably.
Or I did.
Yeah, one of us did. Either way, it's happened now, so that's it. It's come through. So let's have a little look-see at what's in the correspondence pipeline. We got Matthew.
Yep.
Matthew's in. What's Matthew saying?
Hey, Andy and James.
That's us.
Hope you guys are well. Found the podcast for a Reddit comment and have just caught up. As a history grad, I'm loving the new historical background segments, but a bit annoyed that I can no longer binge the podcast while I do my housekeeping job. Either way, looking forward to following till the end. Although the lack of emails from previous episodes seems to have been sorted, I thought I'd send a couple of questions I'd thought of regardless. 1. Can a member of a battalion desert if not treated well, or does lack of supply/food just reduce determination points? I know Italy had real problems with desertion later in the war, but wondering if the game creators had made this a factor to consider. And yes, They don't directly desert, but they gradually lose toe strength, which is the equivalent to men. So I guess you could either view that as those men dying from a lack of food and water, or going, I don't have food and water, I'm leaving.
Well, it's noted as attrition in the rules, which suggests not just death, but also, maybe people abandoning post, going AWOL. So, in a sense, they do leave. It's not an optional thing, though. It's not a sort of thing where you can have your units break apart and split off because of a lack of food. But, they do have essentially that rule. If you treat them badly, whether that's through choice or lack of stores and supplies, then they will, by the nature of it, start to dwindle in numbers.
Yeah.
I suppose it's up to the imagination how it is that happens. Some will die, some will run away, I guess. Who can blame them when they're being led by me?
As for the Italians having problems, I believe they have lower morale inherently as part of their unit to reflect this kind of thing, which then has an influence on combat.
Yes, because the warfare that they were getting into in the desert is not something that they were used to. So it really took a toll on their morale. So the impact of that is reflected in the actual morale, which can be trained up for some units, but I think my Italians will unfortunately be having a bad time.
Although weirdly, I think at the minute, at the start, your guys have better morale because they've been operating in the region
for a longer period.
And are more used to like desert warfare. Whereas a lot of my guys come in with low morale and need training to become functional. So that's all incorporated.
And as for not being able to binge it anymore, what you can do, Matthew, is listen to the podcast backwards. If you listen to the episodes in reverse, so from now, go back down through 20, 19, 18, etc. There's actually a secret message in there. So if you listen to all of them backwards and then all of them the right way again, and then just keep on doing that and let us know what you think, if you figured out the message.
And second question?
Second question.
Have you researched any units specifically that either of you are particularly looking forward to being introduced into the game? Not sure how specific the game gets with it all, but I'm currently in New Zealand and know that the 28th Maori Battalion played a role in North Africa. Although, as this was against Rommel's forces, I imagine I'll be listening for a good few years before they're introduced. And if the game isn't that specific when it comes to Commonwealth forces, would you perhaps have segments highlighting the stories of certain battalions that you might play with? Many thanks, Matt. So it does go to that level of detail with the units. So I haven't seen the 28th Maori, but for instance, the 6th Australian, the 3rd Coldstream Guards. There's the 2nd New Zealand Division, which is currently in the zone. I'm about to move them. So a lot of them are in there.
Yeah, I imagine they will be in there somewhere because it does break down pretty much every unit that was active. So what was it, the 28th?
The 28th Maori Battalion.
So I'm just having a quick look around here, just seeing if anything stands out. Can't see them yet, but we can have a little look through. It may well be that they're in there. I would be shocked if they're not included because pretty much every active unit was accounted for. They've even accounted for some that didn't actually show up, didn't actually make it to the theatre. So we'll have a little look through that because that's an interesting one to double check.
And as for if we're planning to do some breakdowns on specific units, I think absolutely. I think maybe as they start to be in use and maybe a unit has a particularly good day on the board or something like that, we might then go and dive into them in a bit more detail. Yeah,
there's some individual characters. Marseille, a pilot in the German Air Forces. That is a character who is a very capable pilot, and it has an actual material impact on the rating that he gets as a pilot in the game. And he was also just a very wacky character, so we'll probably end up doing a history bit on him at some point.
And probably individual units, like I'm sure digging into them, there's some interesting stuff about.
Oh yeah, there'll be plenty of individuals, individual units, maybe individuals that were in units that we'll start to figure out as time goes on. I mean, the fact that your units today have killed some of my men, I'm probably going to look into maybe some of the history of your guys and get an idea as to what it is.
What kind of maraud is the second Scots?
Yeah, who it is that's actually just came into this airfield and caused this havoc. So it's something that we will definitely follow up in, because we have enjoyed getting to grips with a bit of history as we've went along through this as well.
And if anyone has a bit more knowledge than us, or knows of any units in particular that might be interesting for us to look into, please get in touch. I would love the suggestions.
Yeah, let us know. We'll let you know how they're doing, if they've had any sort of exciting endeavours so far, or whether they're years off, because some of them may well be.
A lot of them will be. But yeah, thanks very much for that, Matt. And you've got one from Instagram, I think?
Yes, we have a message from the old IG, the Insta. Let's have a little look-see what we got here. It is from Andrew. Not you, Andy. Oh. It's a different Andrew. So, this Andrew says, "Hey guys, I've been listening to the podcast for a couple of weeks now. I heard about the podcast through my brother, whose letter you read in episode 16. Oh, family affair, eh?
Yeah.
My name is Andrew, and I am from Georgia, US. Just wanted to say that as a history teacher and World War II enthusiast, I enjoy what you guys are doing, especially as you delve into the histories of some of the key players during the campaign. I also enjoy hearing y'all, we love a y'all, go from an all-over-the-place conversation to having sound effects, segments, and responding to your 10 faithful listeners. We haven't gotten lost in the deserts of our minds. As far as my question, how does all of the battle, transport, and movement happen? Is it through dice roll or some other series of rules pages? While most of us are happy to never play the game, we are your mates, and we will remain subtle, humble, and brave right along with you guys." Well, Andrew, it's a very lovely message, so thank you for that. And when it comes to your question, we can actually break that down now with a little bit of understanding, because now we've actually played a bit of movement. We've went through that. We know what it works like. And when it comes to moving around, you have a set of capability points which are assigned to each unit. So different types of units get a different quantity of these capability points, and you have to expend them when you do anything, whether that's attacking, moving, even unloading or loading a truck. All of these things use these capability points. And depending on the type of terrain that you're on, it will expend more or less. So, for example, if you've got a vehicle and you're moving along a road, it will take half a capability point for every hex that you move.
Yep.
If you're on just a clear piece of land, it will take up 2 capability points for every hex that you move. And then there's others, like if you move up or down a slope, then it can add an additional 4 capability points for each hex that you cross, which has a slope. So it varies quite a bit, but it's determined by, you elect where they go, and then it's sort of limited by these points. You can exceed the points that your unit has, but if you start to go over, then you earn disorganization points.
Which really, from what we can tell anyway, seem to have a very big impact on combat. So you're not going to be wanting to push your troops that much. They also have to spend an entire op stage doing nothing to get 1 disorganization point off.
Yes.
So the amount of time you're going to be doing nothing, if you expend your CPA by quite a bit, there is that balance there.
So yes, there's a few different ways you can go about maneuvering and using that differently.
And then when you do move, if it's a vehicle, it consumes water and fuel.
Yes.
And then you also have to work down the breakdown, because every piece of terrain you move over has a CPA cost and also a breakdown value. So if you're going up and down hills and stuff, that increases. And then when all the movement's done, you roll on the breakdown table for all your units to see if any of them broke down on the way there.
Yeah.
They will always get to where you want and then break down. So you won't have I want to go there, and they break down on the way.
Yeah, so you don't break down to the part way through the journey. You finish the journey, then you see if they've broke down.
Yeah.
Which is, I suppose, good in a way. The breakdown. So yeah, when you look at it, you've got all these different things to factor in for movement. So when you were moving your units today, some of them were motorized.
Yeah.
So that meant you had to figure out the capability points that you spent moving. You had to factor in the rain, which slows you down on roads.
Yeah.
So then after that, you figure out the the breakdown points that you've accrued. You have to work out the fuel consumption. You have to use up the water that's been consumed in the journey. All of that for every single motorized unit in the game, whenever you move them. All of these different things have to be factored in. And you also asked then about the combat. So when it comes to combat, it is the case that there's a few different aspects to the combat. We'll get into a bit more when we actually break into what will probably be weeks of combat back to back.
Yeah.
But in essence, it's all determined by the strength of the units, so the composition of them, which is factored in stuff like whether they're infantry, whether there's tanks, whether there's guns in there, and then it also factors in the morale, the cohesion, and all of that then plays into a table, essentially. There's a table in the rules. You then adjust the position on that table with all of those factors, roll 2 dice, and then that will tell you what your total result is. And then depending on the difference between mine and Andy's result, it results in a certain amount of casualties and prisoners.
Or, yeah, as well as there's other states in between, like pinned and engaged and stuff.
Yes.
Where you can like use artillery to stop units moving. Combat will, I think we'll break it down when we get into it, but it's definitely very involved.
So, yeah, thank you for the question there, Andrew. It touches on something that we've had a grand time and I would say also a lot of frustration getting through. But it's been a lot more positive than usual. So, also interested, since you're a history teacher, just how much of this we're getting absolutely wrong for our history bits.
Yes.
Like, that puts a lot of pressure on, knowing that we're trying to do these history bits, and Andrew here is going to be listening in and going, nope, these guys have absolutely destroyed that bit of information. They've ruined it, and they're giving misinformation. So if that is the case, just let us know.
Yeah, please, we will do corrections if we're getting stuff wildly wrong.
Yeah, well, Andy will. I'm not going to get anything wrong, so Andy might have to do some corrections.
So many.
Yeah, probably. But I've got everything right so far, and I'm sure you'll clarify that for me, Andrew. So thank you, and likewise, you also stay subtle, humble, and brave. And good mention of Desert of My Mind. That's
I like to hear it.
Absolutely. You've really got me there. Really got me there. So we've got. Should we do one more?
Yeah, we've got one from Henry.
Henry, let's hear it, Henry.
Good morning. I guess good afternoon for you guys. Good call. You've nailed that. I've been listening since like 2 days ago and churned through your episodes like a fat kid at Hershey Park. I like war games, but I've never played one on a board game. I've spent many hours on Gary Grisby's War in the East too, or as I call it, Grittism. I've been looking forward to hearing you guys start the actual campaign and slog through this debacle of a rule set. I've been hearing you guys reference the unit's toe. I don't know, I don't speak British. And I think I remember you saying you didn't know what it stood for. If I'm hearing this correctly, it stands for Table of Equipment. Think of this as the unit's overall kit. Does the game actually give a breakdown of equipment for each unit? I remember you saying the manual is stupid long, and that feels like more like you're reading a series of books that should never have been written. The logistical part of the game honestly seems to be the most important part, and this is both historically accurate and accurate in modern day terms. Look, I'm a moron, but I went to school for military history, concentration in World War II, been in the army here for a little over a day, and just generally love anything military related in gaming. I hope you guys keep these episodes coming and post more pictures of the board, especially when you start the main game. The only acceptable time to wear a poncho is at a sporting event, when they give you clear ones for the savages that endure live sporting events in the rain. Henry. So thank you very much, Henry.
We'll definitely have to bleep part of his name there, because you've just read out his full name.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Oh, dear Henry.
Oh, God.
What's he like? Doxing you on the pod.
Sorry for the doxing.
That's wild.
Oh, God.
Well, we've also got his phone number here on the email. Should we read that out as well, Andy?
Me.
So, I mean, you make some very good points there. In terms of toe, it does say somewhere in the rules what it stands for. It definitely does, because I've seen it before. Maybe it is table of equipment. That might be right. So we will have to go back through and find out.
If it's just a military term, not a gaming term, seems right.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be correct. So we will have to go back through and find that out, mostly for my own peace of mind. But if you're right, Henry, then top points.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Some great analogies in there as well. Yeah. The churn through your episodes like a fat kid at Hershey Park. That's very, very creative writing there. You've really painted a picture.
We also did a quick Google of that game he mentioned, and it looks insane.
Yeah, Gary Grisby's War in the East 2. Yeah, it essentially looks like a computerized version of this.
Yeah.
So credit to you if you're tackling anything along these lines. But I would say if it is on a computer, it's cheating a little bit. But we're also using spreadsheets, come to think of it. So I eat my own words. So I would say, yeah, you probably got that nailed. But yeah, the logistics part of the game, definitely important. Yeah. We've found that out. Well, I've found that out the hard way. Because my men are going to start to die of thirst and starve from next turn. So I'm really going to feel that pressure. Because I don't think I've managed that very well. So I'm fighting a war on two fronts. One of them is starvation, and the other one is Andy committing war crimes. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a real...
It's a little rock and a hard place.
Isn't it just? Yeah.
But yeah, the rules also do stress heavily that the logistics is where the game is won or lost.
And in my case, it's going to be where it's lost, unfortunately. But thank you very much for that, Henry. I'll not read out your full name again, like Andy did. But we do thank you very much for that. It's all right. No one will hear it. I'll edit this part out. No one will even know that you did it in the first place.
Oh, good. So this episode's going to be short.
So, now that we've got that out of the way, and by the way, we do still have a lot to get through. So if you have sent something in and you're still waiting for us to address your some pretty wonderful questions, then don't you worry, we will get round to it. But as we've got a bit of gameplay nowadays, it might take us a little while to get through it, but by all means, keep sending them through, and we will definitely get to them at some point.
Love to hear from you guys.
We do. Great questions. Keeps us on track. And just to, I guess, keep us on track in the historical sense is good old Professor Andy over here.
Yeah.
Now, remember, we do have an actual history teacher listening in, so no pressure.
I am feeling it.
Good. This is what you get for killing my man.
Oh, so that's more and more pressure coming as the bodies pile up.
I'm gonna get more and more petulant as we go on.
Right, because not much has happened, and you're pretty petulant.
Yeah, damn right I am. I mean, I came into the whole project pretty petulant, so
that's true.
This is just gonna really.
This might be the first week we've both been in a positive mood.
Yeah, come to think of it, it actually might be. Usually, I'm either tired or ill or just really angry at the game, and you're either pretty frustrated with me, despondent, or feeling a lot more optimistic than I am. So, yeah, we've really hit our stride here today.
Yeah, it is playing the actual game. Maybe that's all we needed.
Maybe the real game are the friends that we made enemies along the way.
Yeah. But into the history bit, following up on the Enigma one.
Yes, we did some Enigma last time, and here's, there we go, a flashback sound. Ooh. As always, there it is.
So we're going to focus it a little bit on the... specifically North Africa with the signal intelligence stuff.
Love to hear it.
Yeah. So got a little quote to kick us off, because I didn't do one last week.
Let's go.
Because he had the invaluable advantage of being able to read Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's Enigma communications, General Bernard Montgomery knew how short the Germans were of men, ammunition, food, and above all, fuel. When he put Rommel's picture up in his caravan, he wanted to be seen to be reading his opponent's mind. In fact, he was reading his mail.
Oh, so Monty was tapping into a little bit of Rommel's little diary, was he?
Yeah. And this... I found a quote by one member of Bletchley Park who described the North Africa campaign, a perfect, if rather miniature, example of a cryptographer's war. So cryptography plays a huge part in this conflict.
Oh, wow. Which doesn't really seem to be reflected in a rule in the game, but I suppose maybe it is abstracted to be put together by some of the other bits and pieces.
And as we'll go into, both sides were reading each other's mail, so
brilliant.
It may come out in the wash a bit.
Which is handy, because when I'm here, and whenever you sort of go to the bathroom or anything, I read your mail.
Oh.
I just have a little look around, see if I can find any envelopes, sealed or not, and I just have a little look through, just see what's going on.
Bills.
Yeah, turns out you got a lot of bills.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's nothing I can really do with that. I was hoping for something exploitative, but no.
Yeah. So, before Italy entered the war, Bletchley Park was already reading a lot of their stuff, including their high-grade military ciphers for all three branches of the military, as well as their diplomatic service. So basically all of it. Decrypts gave them a month's warning for Italy entering the war.
Okay.
On the 11th of June, 1940. The Italians changed their cipher on the 10th of June, the day before the invasion, which might have been a good security protocol, except they arranged everything on the old one, which had been broken.
That's a fantastic security flaw.
So, in July, Bletchley Park was already making progress in decrypting and reading these new ciphers, and by August they were just back, basically decrypting almost all of it. And then, because we used to have a sort of scattered bunch of like intelligence services and stuff throughout North Africa, but in November the Commonwealth and the Allies created the Combined Bureau Middle East and just put all of them together so they could coordinate better.
Okay, that seems like a good way to organize things.
So a big part of this is, at this time, it becomes clear, as Bletchley Park are reading more and more of the Germans' mail, that they are receiving high-value insider information from British headquarters in Cairo. Someone there is giving extremely detailed reports to the Germans.
Okay, that's not great.
So these messages are marked as having a good source, is what's mentioned all the time.
Okay.
And in that, a month earlier, this source, whoever it was, who'd been giving all this information away, visited British units and described them as training inferior according to American ideas, which meant they were like, this is an American who's leaking this.
Oh, okay.
Because you wouldn't make that comparison if you...
Weren't. Yeah.
So one of two things is true here. There's an American traitor in Cairo, or someone's broken the Americans' codes.
Okay.
Bletchley Park are getting increasingly angry at this because America are being very slow to acknowledge and deal with the issue, until it comes to a head when the director of Bletchley Park overall gets involved, and he's incredibly unhappy after it turns out a message intercepted by the Germans gave the details of 9 simultaneous attacks on airfields by the SAS. They read that and knew the Germans knew, but couldn't get a message to the SAS guys before they launched the raids. And like a bunch of them are killed and captured.
Oh, right.
So at this point, people are furious at the Americans at Bletchley Park. And the Americans are like, well, no, it's a spy. It's not us. There's this like blame game going back and forward until eventually Churchill directly gets in contact with Roosevelt. Like, it gets to the level where the two leaders have to have
a chin wag about this.
Yeah. So what actually caused all this is a guy called... Well, I'll roll it back a little bit to Rome a few years earlier.
Oh, God, I thought we were going ancient Rome for a moment there.
Right back at the beginning. But this is kind of crazy. So what ends up happening is it turns out that the Italians have broke the code, except they didn't do it with, like, maths or anything. From what I could tell, they just made a spare key for the US Embassy in Rome, and just went in at night, cracked the safe, and just took pictures of all the code sheets and stuff.
That's a very lo-fi solution.
And over the next week, they were just going in every night, photographing stuff, putting it back where it was. Locked up, left, and the Americans just had no clue.
Oh my God, that's so bad.
Surely someone should be guarding the embassy at night in a country you're going to be at war with soon.
Yeah, why did nobody look into that. That's so bad.
They only found out like after the war when Italian stuff was being like decoded and declassified.
But that would be one of the first things I would think of is, where are the codes?
Yes.
Can anyone get to the codes? Oh, that's pretty bad. That's pretty embarrassing. That's not a good look at all.
Yeah. So it turns out this highly rated source for the Germans is a fellow called Colonel Bonner Fellers. Who's
Cool name.
Yeah, the military attaché in Cairo for the US. And he's been sending messages back using the military intelligence code, which has been broken. So his office he's growing his office here in Cairo with like different intelligence people. So he's hoovering up all this information and reporting it back to Washington for them to like use.
He's like a Hoover. Damn.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely golden comedy. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
So he's getting all this information. He's also, I found a quote describing him as something like a fervent Anglophobe. He hated British people and thought they were worse. And he's sending all these messages and including like information on where tanks are, what the battle plans are, all of this stuff. And it leads up to this point where the British are giving explicit orders to their men. Don't talk to this one guy. But it turns out he's just incredibly charismatic or something, because people just keep telling him things. Which leads to this like incredibly long message that he sends about all the British failures related to the 8th Army, their plans to retreat, how they're going to mount their defense. His analysis is not optimistic, and he goes, if Rommel intends to take the Nile Delta, now is the opportune time. Taking the Delta means capturing Cairo, Alexandria, and therefore all of Egypt. Roosevelt read this message. Rommel read it, likely before Roosevelt did. People at Bletchley Park read a decoded message from the good source. The Italian foreign minister, Mussolini's son, also reads it and writes in his diary, cables from the American observer at Cairo, fellas. We learn that the English have been beaten, and if Rommel keeps going, they'll reach the Suez Canal.
Oh my God.
So everyone's reading this guy's fucking mail. Which leads to them, they go, we need to switch the code up. And then if the leaks continue, it's deliberate, not a broken code.
Yeah.
They do this the week before at like a really crucial time in it, because Rommel's about to push into Egypt. Waverley flies in, takes command of the 8th Army just after the code switch and completely changes the strategy. Not because of that, just because he thought the previous strategy was bad.
That's a very happy coincidence.
Yeah. So Rommel's about to launch this attack on the presumption he's got all this incredibly accurate information. Just by happenstance, it's perfectly timed to switch the codes. Like, if they'd done it a week earlier, he would have known. So we just accidentally, like, deprive him of information at the perfect time.
That is pretty golden.
Yeah. And I guess next week I'll go into how that played out, the intelligence aspects changing that push into Egypt and why it played a huge role in it failing.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting to hear, because that will be very directly tied to what we're actually going to be getting into in the game itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, damn, that's the idea of everybody just reading this one message. All sides are completely aware of the contents of this, but no one can really act on it accurately because of that.
Yeah.
It sort of dilutes the power of the message when every fucker's reading it.
Also, I just like the thing of Rommel likely read it before Roosevelt. Like,
that's so bad. Oh God, that's just It's a pretty tragic tale of disenchantment and very, very bad security etiquette,
and just an incredibly low-tech solution to break this.
Well, the fact that they just had a spare key.
It's a spare key, or they made a fake one, but basically they just unlocked the door and walked in.
It's so bad that nobody was like, are they maybe just coming in here?
Yeah.
Because we don't have guards, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on there.
I guess, I don't even know if you can call it espionage, because I feel like espionage, there needs to be a little bit
There's
of
an implication
overcoming
of something.
barriers. Yeah, you're getting past something, you're sneaking through some sort of protection. Oh, goodness me. I mean, you're not going to be able to read any of my supplies, my strategies about my supplies. Oh my God, it's catching up with me. God, this day is getting to me. We've made a lot of progress, but at what grisly cost?
I guess my equivalent of the Enigma intercepts is you going, oh shit, when you go looking at the document, and me going, well, things aren't going well then, are they? I guess he doesn't have enough supplies.
That's it. I am an Enigma, so that's what you have.
I've cracked your Enigma code of loudly vocalizing things.
Yeah, it's difficult, and you may need a bit of social insight to be able to pull it off, but yeah, it will eventually yield results, I would imagine. But I think now, more than ever, what would be important to find is some common ground. And now for something nicer. A little oasis in the war. It's time for some common ground. I'm trying the intro for common ground. I'm recording it. Maybe. Yeah. Now that we're at each other's throats, now that you're killing my men actively, now that you're going to be capturing a lot of my men next week, and I'll be retaliating with incredible force, I think it's important to carry out what we decided to be a weekly ritual to make sure we don't hate each other all that much, and that is common ground. And it's your common ground this week.
Yeah.
What do you have in store for us?
Well, I've been looking at some chess stuff this week.
Chess? Okay.
I think it needs an update.
You want to update chess?
Yeah, they last patched it like 500 years ago.
I don't think they patched anything.
They gave it a new rule. They added some pieces.
What new rule did they add?
I think they added like the bishop or something.
There wasn't a bishop beforehand.
I don't think so.
No diagonal stuff.
I think
beforehand.
they've been adding pieces up until 500 years ago.
Oh wow!
And changing things.
Okay, so we're down a. Yeah. Okay. So we're down for an update.
Yeah, and like computers can now beat any human at chess. It's all got a bit boring.
Mm-hmm.
So let's update some chess. Let's add some new pieces, maybe some new squares to the board.
Okay. I guess you'd have to if you want to add a new piece.
Yeah,
but
maybe add a row.
Yeah. Add another column, a row, so that, or maybe just have an extra square, so it's an extra square by each dimension. Do you have a piece in mind by any chance?
Not particularly.
No,
I just think it needs maybe something that can hop. It could only go 2 or 4, so it can't go right next to itself.
Okay, like a sort of a frog.
Yeah,
not an actual frog though. It would have to still tie into the theme of the current chess pieces.
Yeah.
So you've got the sort of
you've got castles.
You've got castle. You've got knight. You've
bishop.
got king, queen.
So
pawns.
what's the like new equivalent to like a knight or a bishop in the modern world?
I would probably say, oh God, an equivalent to a knight.
A hedge fund manager.
No, they're more like the rook.
Okay.
The strong tower that can move straight ahead and smash through the competition. No, we need something that's a bit more noble, a bit more humble and understated. What could that be? I think maybe DJs.
DJs?
Yeah, there we go.
They just area of effect make pieces leave.
Yeah, so there we go. So we've got hedge fund managers and DJs.
Another one of your pawns is the union leader, and when he moves, all the pawns move with him.
That one is partly political. Interesting. So we've got the union leader who now runs the pawns.
The head pawn.
We've got the There's now a pawn who's in charge. We've got the DJ. We've got the hedge fund manager.
Yeah.
I think it's important as well for us to have some sort of TikTok star. I think they can be... Actually, no, they can't play. How about that?
Okay.
How about that? I'm not going to allow them to play.
Yeah.
I think TikTok is bad for the attention span. I think it damages people's ability to concentrate. And I say this as somebody who ends up spending about an hour watching it before bed.
Yeah.
I know what it's done to me.
Yep.
It's absolutely destroyed my attention span.
Not TikTok, because I've never downloaded it, but YouTube Shorts have done the same damage to me.
Yeah, all these sort of short form pieces of content, I just it's like crack.
Yeah.
I'm just sat there in bed, as I imagine people who enjoy a bit of crack do.
Just sit quietly in
Just
bed.
sit quietly in bed, enjoying crack for an hour.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I'm more tired.
But now you can play Chess 2.0.
That's true. That's what I'll do. I'll download the new chess app. I'll move my DJ 2 spaces.
When the DJ captures a piece, the last person to capture a piece with the DJ gets to pick the music that you're listening to.
I like that. So there has to be music playing from now on when you play chess.
Again, making it more vibrant.
Oh, how about for the night, we can have some sort of telesales agent.
Move the same way, or
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, they're always making moves. These telesales agents, they're always moving in strange ways that you can't quite determine. Can't see them coming. So that is sort of how the night moves.
Or the telesales agent, if you can't see him coming, there's a piece you don't put on the board until it captures something.
DJs, they're the ones who move diagonal now. They replace the bishop because, they move diagonal. They move a bit off.
And the discotheque is the new cathedral.
That's true. I've been saying that since the 70s, and I wasn't even alive back then. And so we've got our hedge fund manager is the rook.
Yeah.
We've got DJs as...
They're just bishops, but also you get to control the music.
That's true.
Yeah.
Telesales agents are the knights.
Yeah.
We've got the pawns. They are union or union leaders.
Unionized.
The pawns are unionized, which does leave us with the king and queen.
Now...
Okay, I'm going to hear you out.
Chess 500 years ago wasn't the same equality. Now the king and queen, they both move like queens used to, but you need to checkmate both of them.
Oh, I like that. So, yeah, both of them share equal responsibility.
Yeah.
And both of them have, an equal level of power. So it doesn't really work like an actual monarchy because you don't have a king and queen that are equal in their power.
Democracy now.
Well, yeah, but, it's even so. Yeah. It's, I would say we still need to put names to them because it's a king and a queen. These individuals aren't, you can't just say DJ. You can't just say hedge fund manager. We need actual individuals.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So-
like an actual person.
Actual people.
Well, who are like a power couple.
Ooh, power couple. That's an interesting dynamic we're going to have to put together here. I'm going to say, ooh, no. I don't think I have it yet. Any thoughts?
Jay-Z and Beyonce.
No.
Okay.
No.
I was
not
trying to
them.
think of 2 famous people who are married.
No, they've already had that time in the limelight. We need somebody a bit more understated, a bit more subtle, humble, and brave. And I don't think Jay-Z and Beyonce are subtle.
No, or humble.
I can't speak to them being humble, but it really doesn't seem like they're humble.
No.
I don't know that what they're doing is brave either. Being incredibly rich doesn't seem very brave. Being really poor, that'd be brave. Maybe that's what we do then.
We pick some poor people.
John Doe and Jane Doe.
Yeah.
That's who's king and queen.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Nobody. How about that? The little people.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go. The little people are going to be king and
I've
queen.
also just realised if they both move like queens and you have to check both of them, it's basically impossible.
Yeah, you've broken chess. You know what? Turns out chess was fine the whole time.
No, I'm actually going to try and play this version we've made.
All right, so I guess that's what we'll be doing after we wrap up this whole game, this project, we'll be playing
we'll have
Chess
a game of
2.
Chess 2.0.
Chess 2.0, and we'll also be playing that shortened version of the campaign for North Africa. Oh, what a bunch of crap we've rambled today, Andy.
Yeah.
History was good, though. I like the history.
Yeah.
I like hearing about Enigma. I think that's some good stuff. We talked about the actual progress we made in the game.
That's a big one.
That was good too.
Yeah.
I think all in all, we've done a hell of a job, and I think we've earned some rest with some shut-eye. It is bank holiday after all. Can we do a conclusion though?
Yeah.
I think it's time we got some shut-eye.
I need to go see if John Cena won.
Oh, of course, WrestleMania. Maybe I'm going to look it up now. Actually, I'm not going to tell you though.
Don't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I am going to quickly check. Everybody, if you're listening now,
Don't email spoilers for WrestleMania.
no spoilers. Oh, that's interesting. I'm sorry. I've also we've just had an email come through.
Oh,
It's written entirely in Morse code.
well, that's something for everyone to look forward to next week.
Hey, that's one. We'll read that one out next week. This could be really bad.
Oh, I see what. Yeah, we're gonna need to decode.
Well, looks like we've got our own enigma to decode.
Some homework.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and whoever just sent us the Morse code message, I hope you get some good rest. And oh, look, it's the result of WrestleMania. It looks like John Cena was involved in it.
No.
And on that big old cliffhanger, I guess we'll call it good night, bid you adieu, and stay subtle, humble, and brave.
Yeah.
Nighty night.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.